Hello, welcome to the stream. David Snopek here from Snopek Games. Let me fiddle with this thing for a moment. Oh, and let me see who all is here. I see Antonio Cano, Logan, Ricardo. We got some cool characters. I look like some kind of mercenary who actually kind of looks like me if I still had more hair. And we've got two competing jesters going. Antonio looking more like a traditional jester. Logan looks like maybe he's like a soldier of some kind who just threw on the jester hat. And Ricardo, of course, queen of the orcs. Oh, and Mackin on it is got. That's also a very sort of military looking guy, like a general, maybe. The white mustache really says general, whereas was the other character. Logan's over here. Maybe that's a younger officer. All right, so I'm going to fiddle with this overlay to make it be, oops, wrong button, make it be an actual overlay. By the way, some months ago, we created this overlay as a Godot game on stream. If I can remember the key codes to do anything here. I'm just going to hit buttons. Just hitting buttons now. What the heck? Okay, so that one's working. I swear all of the other functions. Oh, okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, whew. Sorry, guys. I need to put I need a post-it note on my computer so every stream when I'm fiddling with the overlay to try and make it be an overlay, I can't forget what the buttons are. All right. Hopefully that is actually working. Or wait, no, I need to do one more thing. I need to do one more thing in OBS. Hopefully now it's actually working. Please let me know in the chat if it isn't. And it looks like we got at least one more person. AJ Slay. Antonio Cano says, it's because I'm a clown. How's everyone doing? This has been a really rough week for me, honestly. And for the dumbest reason ever. It's because in the United States, daylight savings time started on Sunday. And I've just been like a cranky old man all week because of it. Especially on Monday, I was like the crankiest ever. And that was like a double doozy because I was tired from losing an hour of sleep from daylight savings time, but also one of my daughters had trouble sleeping. And so I was like awake for like 2 hours in the middle of the night trying to help her get back to sleep. And so it was like I just lost so much sleep at the beginning of the week. And I think I'm back to normal, ready to do my thing, ready to do some sweet Godot game dev. How's everyone else's projects going? I know Logan's working on a really cool looking Godot Wild Jam game where he's got a character that's like broken up into 3 parts and like you can control each of the parts and they can combine and do different things. It looks really awesome. I can't wait to play it. But yeah, anyone else have any cool projects going? I've been continuing to work on my VR prototype, which is like a voxel builder thing. I shared it on Discord because I shared it on a different Discord, and then I'm like, well, I put on this other Discord, I should put on my Discord too. So I'll show the video real quick while folks are getting connected here. So the idea of my little prototype is that it's a voxel builder thing. I don't know exactly what the game is, but the blocks that you build with are blocks that you also build out of voxels. So there's a kind of fractal thing, like it's voxels all the way down, man. So here in the video, I'm going into the thing where you build a voxel. And the voxels actually don't have to all be the same size. I made it just 1 grid unit big on the big grid in this video. But you can actually make it up to 4 big grid units in any of the directions. With the idea that you'd maybe construct some objects that are bigger than a single grid space. Because for whatever reason, I'm picturing this like you building the interior of a house. I don't know why I'm picturing that. But like, so maybe you'd want to make a refrigerator. And so like a refrigerator would maybe take like 2 grid units on the X and Z, but like 4 grid units on the Y or something like that. I don't know. Well, that's the idea. I've been playing around with it, having a lot of fun. Hey, BimDev, how's it going? Oh, you got a sweet character. You got, I mean, that's either a sailor hat or a crown of some kind. So you're either a seasoned salty sea dog or some kind of royalty, some sort of leader. Antonio Cano says, I'm trying to do a simple fighting game using, the rollback add-on deterministic physics. Awesome. Definitely let me know how that goes. I don't know your Discord name if you're already on the Discord. But if you aren't, you should totally join Discord. And if you have any problems, let me know. Yeah. Ricardo says, looks cool. Thank you, Ricardo. So yeah, that's what I've had going on for the most part. What are we doing today? Well, hey, Winfrey. Whoa. So, you appear to have some sort of wooden sword, and, I mean, that could be armor. That could be armor that you're wearing, and you're an orc with kind of a fro, kind of a gray fro. So maybe an older orc still gets his styles from the medieval 1970s, whatever the equivalent is. We got some really cool characters in the overlay today. Ah, Winfrey is Antonio. Okay, cool. Awesome. So now you have two characters. You're two people at once. All right, so this has been a really interesting series of streams because we have, for like 4 streams in a row, worked on the same thing. And unlike previous streams where we'd work on something for like 2 hours, and then between the streams, I'd continue working on it off stream for like 10 hours, and then we'd work for like 2 more hours. We've actually consistently been working on this like on stream, and I've only worked on it off stream a teeny tiny bit. I'm curious how you guys feel about that. Like, do you like the experience of like doing something purely on stream better than, where I go away and work on it a ton off stream? Or I'm really curious how it is from the perspective of a viewer. Anyway, it's been very interesting for me. What we have been working on is this feature for the Godot Rollback Netcode add-on, where it can record logs of the match, and then you can take the logs, load those into the log inspector, and then replay particular frames from the match so that you can debug issues. And the log inspector already has what is called state replay, where you load a state from the logs and just put it in the game, load it up. And we've been working on frame replay, where it's actually like running all of your game logic on each frame the way that hopefully it ran in the actual match, so that you could set breakpoints in the Godot line debugger and actually step through the code to see what went wrong on a particular frame, which I am hoping will help me solve the last like 1 or 2 fatal state mismatch issues in Retro Tank Party. We've actually been working on it in the Retro Tank Party codebase just because it's nice to have a big fat example to mess around with. So last time we were trying to get all of the dots connected to actually replay a frame at all. Let me show you where we're at now. Or actually, one more tiny bit of explanation. So we got it almost working, but it was just like not working for some unknown reason, and I suspected that it had to do with all of these values that were logged that should have been integers, but when we read them from the log, they're coming back as strings. And it turned out that that was totally the problem, because the one thing I did off stream between last week and this week is I converted the logs to binary, so we're no longer writing JSON data. We're using like the Godot variant serialization thing, and we're just serializing the log data binary and then loading it back up. And I did that, and it just worked. It just worked. It got us past the big thing we were stuck on. So let me just show you how it's working right now. So we can start up one. I don't really want my Discord hanging out over here. Maybe I'll just actually close it. I can always open it up again. All right, so we will launch one client, and we'll connect it with another client, which I guess I'll have to type out the path here. Because it's no longer saved in my shell history. This would be SG physics2D build Godot 3 bin Godot tools. All right. Yeah, man. We'll start up a little match here. Get connected. I will drive around a little bit. Get the 2 characters close to each other. Maybe go shoot the other character a couple of times. And we will kill it. And we are going to load those logs up in the log inspector. There are the bottom 2 logs here. And we will launch a replay client. And so the state replay, which was working since quite a while ago, you could come in and say, like, I want to see what the state was on tick 200, for example. And we should be seeing what's happening on tick 200, why aren't we? Ooh, is something totally broken? Why isn't it showing me what's going on tick 200? Do I have a breakpoint set or something? I think I do. Okay, we got stopped on a breakpoint. Let me unset this breakpoint, and then we should be able to get this going. But the fact that it's stopping on breakpoints means, you know, a big part of this equation is already working, because that was something that we worked on like 2 streams ago. How can we get it to actually like stop on breakpoints in the Godot editor? Anyway, so I can just advance the ticks, and you see the match play out down there. But again, that's just loading the state. If we go to the equivalent thing in the frame replay, we'll pick, I don't know, frame 18, and we'll say replay to current frame. Is that really frame 18? That seems wrong. Wait, hang on. We'll go, we'll set the timer, move over here. Replay to current frame. Well, something seems to be wrong. Let me fiddle with this and see if I can get it working. Okay, here we go. We're sort of in a place. We may have some bugs to fix. Wow, okay, something happened. All right, I don't know what happened there exactly. We seem to have gotten like out of sync somehow, so there's definitely some kind of bug we'll need to fix. But now that I've got it kind of working, I can hit next frame up here, and you will see the game advances down in the replay, similar to the way it did with the state, but under the hood, it's not just loading the state, it's actually executing all of the game logic. Like where we have, you can see on the graph here, we see like, okay, we are on Pier 1's tick number, I guess this is the interframe, or not the interframe, the interpolation frame between ticks number 9 and 10. And on this interpolation frame is when the input from Pier 2 for tick 11 arrives. And so what we want to do is actually just have that input arrive and have the game respond as it would in a real live match. So that means it'll be doing prediction, it'll be running all of your game logic, everything. So yeah, it's game dev time, says Saluk 64007. Out of curiosity, what is the 64007? Is that just like a number you made up? I always wonder, like with when people put numbers in their usernames, like what is the meaning, man? What is the deeper meaning? Yeah, we're working on the replay feature. So hopefully we'll actually get it like for real working this time. We've been on it for a while. So let's dig in here. The main code that is doing things here on the replay client side. So the way this is set up is there's a kind of client server thing. The log inspector tool acts as a server. The replay client, which is just an instance of your game, is the client. It connects to the server, and then the server sends it messages. So we added the execute frame message on the last stream, and we have it doing some stuff. It's taking the input frames we received, the number of rollback ticks that happen on that frame or happened on that frame when it was running for real. We are injecting that data into the sync manager, and we are executing the tick, the frames that are ticks. The thing is, we actually have 3 different types of frames that can happen. We have ticks, which are the type of frame that does the most stuff. It runs during Godot's physics process, and that's where rollbacks are performed, our advantage calculation stuff, which won't actually even matter for this, but it happens there, and running the current tick. We also have what we call interpolation frames, which happen on Godot's process method, the normal underscore process method, which does interpolation, as the name would suggest, and then a couple of like little other bookkeeping-y things that we've sort of shunted off to the interpolation frame, because if you're using interpolation, the interpolation frame has a little bit of extra frame budget that you can use. So you can kind of like try to keep only the things that need to happen on a tick in the tick frame. And then if there's some other things that like don't critically need to happen there, we can sort of shunt them off to the interpolation frame and get a little bigger frame budget that way. And that's actually going to be the topic of my next video, is the interpolation stuff. And then the third type of tick is what we call an interframe. That is an event that Godot has sent us that happens between. It's not in physics process. It's not in process. It's just like Godot fired a signal and we dealt with it. So that's an interframe. And I just made that concept up because we needed some way to log that data. Saluk says, yeah, it's a number I made up for AOL Instant Messenger. 64 is for Nintendo 64. Ooh, 007 is for James Bond. Hey, Adrian, how's it going? What kind of character did you get, Adrian? I don't see you. Where are you? Oh, there we go. I feel like we've seen this character before, but you are also a 1970s orc with a good fro. A younger orc than Winfrey. Or Wendfrey? Yeah. 007 for the Nintendo 64 was a sweet, sweet game. I remember playing that with my buddies a lot of time, playing some death matches in there. I don't even think they were called death matches. I don't remember what they were called in 007. Anyway, so the first thing on our order of business is we need to do not just the tick frame type, but also the interpolation frame and interframe. Then we're going to do some refactoring and cleaning up. We kind of hacked in this mechanized stuff last time, and once we have it all hacked in, we're going to kind of look at it, take stock, and decide how we can refactor it. BIMDAV had a really good suggestion from last stream, which I think we'll probably do something like that. But we'll see what we think when we have the whole thing laid out, and then if we have free time, which we never do, we never get to point number 3 on my list, but if we do, there are some threading issues with the way the logger works that I would love to solve before this switch to a binary format. Oh, and I got to show you a cool thing that I made for the binary situation. So anyway, to finish my thought about the threading thing, there is an issue where when the game stops, it is supposed to wait for the logger thread to finish writing its last piece of data before it exits, but it's not working. It just kills it. So pretty much every log includes the last line like cut off halfway. And it does weird things with the binary data. So when it was JSON, it was kind of okay because it would just throw out the whole line. Like the way it worked was it would log a line of JSON for each log entry, and we'd break apart the file on lines and decode them individually. And when there was a broken bit of JSON, it would say, this JSON's junk, I can't do anything, and throw the whole thing out. The binary data, the Godot serialization thing, will actually read the line up until the point that it can't and give you that data back. And I do not see a way to detect that you're getting half broken data versus getting a real full piece of data. It just gives you what it gets, and it can look real weird and do real weird things. So before actually committing this to the add-on upstream, I would like to solve this threading issue so that we can make sure that we're getting complete lines of not lines anymore, but complete log entries of binary data. All right. So the first thing first, we need to send some frame data for the other frame types. So that brings us back into the server end of the equation, which we can find. Wow, even a week and I already can't remember how this code works. So probably replay server? Or no, replay server just does the actual low-level mechanical stuff of dealing with being a TCP server. What we actually want is the frame viewer itself. So the frame viewer UI is directly making messages that it is sending via the replay server object. So here we go. Send frame replayed data. This is our function. So currently we have it grabbing the frame type. Actually maybe it is sending data for all the frame types. So it's calling the execute frame method with a particular frame type with a number of rollback ticks. And if it's a tick, we go in and put some extra data on there that we know could be... Okay, what we're putting on here is the input data for the peer itself, which, yes, will only be there on a tick frame. Good. and then we go through and get input received from each peer. And this can happen not just on a tick frame. We can also receive data on both an interpolation frame or interframe. It depends on what networking method you're using. So if you're using the RPC network adapter, then the input received from the other clients will come in on an interframe, because that's just an RPC just gets fired. We have no control of when or how it's getting fired. Whereas if you're using the WebRTC Nakama network adapter, it will come in on a process on the interpolation frame, because we are actually like running some code to pull the connection and process that data. So anyway, this needs to always run, so that's good. What we need to do, I guess, is figure out if there's any extra data that we need for interpolation frames, because let's handle interpolation frames next, and make sure it gets stuffed into the message. So maybe actually it would be better not to start here, but to start down in the sync manager. So the sync manager is the bit of code that does pretty much all of the important stuff for the rollback add-on. And let's go take a look at its process method. Did I already go past it? I think I did. Just searching here. And let's see what data it needs. And then we will go about stuffing it in there. So we're doing a little bit of timing. We're checking if we should do something or not. We're running interpolate state. Do we need to pass in any special data for it to interpolate state? Let's go see how call interpolate state works. Okay, so we're going over this dictionary interpolation state, which must be created during a normal tick frame during the physics process. So I think we can just assume that because we're running the physics process that this will work. It makes me wonder if we should be doing some cleanup, though. That we should be cleaning up interpolation state when we reset our mechanized data. So we have a method here somewhere in this pile of methods that's like reset mechanized data. So I think, well, no. Okay, so we're doing reset mechanized data at the end of a mechanized tick, where we wouldn't want to clear our interpolation state. I just have this worry that like the interpolation state will get populated, and then we'll like rewind to some way earlier tick where we will have no interpolation data, but it will still be like hanging around. What is the solution to that? Okay, let me think through this. So the model we have is the only way for this frame replay to work is we have to always play the frames back consecutively. So if we are on frame 10 and we want to go back to frame 5, we have to restart the whole thing, reinitialize the game, and play from frame 0 through 5. Whereas if we're on frame 10 and we want to go to frame 12, we can just say, okay, replay frames now 11 and 12 and build on what we've already got. So the only time that this should mess us up is when we're going backwards, which means we will reinitialize things. So what does the reinitialization look like? So sync replay is the client piece. It does setup match, I think, is the one that would reinitialize everything. Let's go over to do setup match. We call stop clear peers. And then over here we call start again. So okay, what I want to verify is that stop or start cleans up that interpolation data. And if it does, then we can move on. That is not a problem we need to worry about. And if it doesn't, we need to just add that code and then move on. So where's the start method? We'll start with start. So start inevitably ends up calling this reset method, which clears our interpolation state. Okay, cool. One potential problem avoided. Let's go back to walking through what happens in an interpolation frame, the code in process, and see if there's anything else we need to check out. Okay, so we shouldn't need to do anything special to send the interpolation state data, because that should be built up through the natural process here. Update input complete tick. So we use this to decide when we should calculate hashes. Let's just look at the code and try and guess if we think something will explode or cause potential problems. So what we're doing here is we are looping. It looks like we are slowly ticking input complete tick up as we check each tick. So if we can, we grab some input. If the input is not complete, we bail. The logger stuff we can ignore because we've made sure the logger's disabled in replay mode. This tick should be recomputed with complete inputs. Let's roll back. Oh, okay, this is that feature that BIMDAV added to have things that you only want to run when input is complete. We will want these things to run as they would have normally. I think this code should still work. We're checking if it equals the requested input complete tick. The requested input complete tick should have been set the normal way by running through all the frames. Tick delta, that calculates a rollback. Then it emits rollback flagged. This part actually is probably a no-op in the case of replay, because we will not use this calculation, but we do still want the signal to fire just in case. And then we also fire this input complete signal, and that should be good. Okay, I think we're good there. Let's look back in here. Update input hashes is the next thing that happens. Now we are doing a similar thing to the last method. Oh, it's actually right above here, except instead of iterating the input complete tick, we're iterating this last state hash tick. We're grabbing the state frame. The state frame should be there. We're saving state frames as normal. Calculating the data hash should be fine. Adding it to our buffer. How do these buffers get cleared? Like the state hash buffer, when and how do we remove data from it? Because I don't want replay to just keep building that and building that and building that, never cleaning it up. So let's check that really quick. State hashes. Probably looking for like state hashes erase. State hashes something. Get state hash frame. Size. Pending. Okay, so here, popping front. Okay, this looks like probably the code where we're removing stuff. Cleanup buffers. It's cleanup buffers still being run. I hope so. Let's find where this is called. Cleanup buffers. So cleanup buffers is only happening if we are not mechanized. So that was a good thing to check. How should we clean up the buffers then? If we're not going to be cleaning them up the normal way, I mean, one option is that we just basically have step 2 only clean up the buffers. The thing is, cleanup buffers is also where a lot of our errors come from, because cleanup buffers is what can detect a buffer underrun. A buffer underrun is basically where it's time to retire a piece of data, but we haven't actually done the thing we need to do with that data yet. And so we're in a situation where we can't retire it because we still need it, but now it's time to retire it, so freak out. That's a buffer underrun. And I don't want handle fatal error to happen, I think. Although maybe let's just let it happen and see what goes wrong. Oh, Winfrey is stuck at the top of the screen. I gotta get you out of there, Winfrey. Let me try and remember what button does it. Is it this one? No. 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 You might be trapped there, Winfrey. I don't remember the key. Was it K? Let's just hit every key. Let's just hit them all. Whoa. That wasn't a good one. That made everyone disappear. Nope. I don't remember the key. Ah, there it was. We've unstuck you. Antonio Cano. Oh God, no. All right. Yes, that's what we'll do. Let's just say in process. I'm sorry, in physics process, on step 2 here, when we are mechanized, all we're going to do is clean up the buffers. And we'll find out if that's going to bite us later. Okay, let's go back to walking through process here. We definitely need interpolation frame signal to emit in case you have some game thing that's happening there. You want it to still happen in the replay. Network adapter poll should be safe because we are using the dummy network adapter. That should be good. Clearing this flag should be good. Checking how much time it took to run. I mean, doesn't hurt anybody. It's fine. Okay. I think what this means is there's no extra data we need to pass in. We just need to run it. I think that's it. So let's go over to sync replay. If we are sent a frame with the right frame type of interpolation frame, we just need to call some method. We'll call this execute mechanized interpolation frame. And if any input is received on the interpolation frame, it'll be already put in there. Rollback ticks doesn't matter for an interpolation frame. We don't do rollbacks there, but this is potentially important. Do we have to worry about the order of that? So, okay, in the normal interpolation frame, we first interpolate state, do all these things, and then at the end is when we're processing input. So maybe what we should do is make sure that process runs first, and processing, the word process used too much, like actually handling this input receive should come last. So let's go down to where we are making these mechanized methods. Execute mechanized tick, we'll write a new method right after it. Func execute mechanized interpolation frame. And like I said, we'll do process first. Passing in, well, we don't want to pass in tick time, actually. Ooh, this is an interesting question. What do we want to pass in? Do we use the delta for anything? Just put 0 there for now, which is probably the most unsafe value you could put there. If it's used in a multiplication, it'll suddenly become 0. Let me just finish writing this method, and then we can go figure out what that delta is used for. Okay, so process mechanized input will come after, and then at the end, we'll do reset mechanized data, just like we were doing up here for the execute mechanized tick. Let's take one more look at process and see what the delta needs to be. So are we using the delta? We are using the delta. We're using the delta to figure out how long it's been since the last tick, which does seem like a good way to do it, honestly. And then we're using that to figure out how much to interpolate from the last tick state to the next tick state. So maybe this is the piece of data we need to pass in. We need to pass in a number of seconds, a fractional number of seconds since the last tick or the last interpolation frame, because we're sort of accumulating this data. How are we going to do that? Do we have that data? Oh, I was going to show you guys. So this totally relates, because I was just thinking I need to go look at the data. Now that we are storing this as binary data, if we open up one of these log files, you'll see it is binary data. It's a bunch of junk. We can see the strings in here, but most of these are, not ASCII characters, so it's just, putting out some control code or something for them. But I wrote a little script which we can use to convert this binary data back into JSON data, same as it was before, so that humans, us feeble humans who cannot read binary data, can look at it. So let's just run that script really quick. And we can now see it in relatively human readable format. So I know that we're recording the time. We're recording the time. So here we go. We have frame type 1, which I believe is a tick, a normal tick, possibly. Frame type 2. Let me actually go look up what the IDs are. I'll look up the IDs so we can see what we're looking at here. That would be in our logger file. Antonio, I thought, or a way I thought to know if a file is corrupted is to add a hash to the end of the file. That is the hash content of the file. If it doesn't match, the data is broken. So we have, the problem is we wouldn't be able to calculate that hash, because the reason the data is getting corrupted is that the process is being killed before it's done. If we were able to do something after it was ended, but before the process ended, we'd be able to just not make corrupted data, right? Because if the process is killed and suddenly we're not able to finish what we're doing, we also wouldn't be able to write that hash. If that makes sense, I hope. But otherwise, I mean, that's a good way to detect if a file is corrupted, for sure, is to use a hash. But we would fall into the same problem that we're already experiencing. But that is something that we could maybe use. If we can solve this threading issue where the process is getting killed and it's not letting our thread finish, we could at the end also make a hash, and then also use that to detect if the data is good. All right, so it looks like 0 is interframe, 1 is tick, 2 is interpolation frame. So what we care about is tick and interpolation frame, and we need to figure out, I guess, what do we need to track? We need to track the last time a tick or interpolation frame happened so that we can calculate this delta value. So tick being frame type 1, we have a start time. And is it the start time that we care about, or is it the end time? Let's go look at the code. So in the normal code, when we're normally running sync manager, this time since last tick is being just accumulated. And it's being cleared at the end of a tick. So the delta would basically be the time the interpolation frame started minus the time that the tick ended, and that's the delta. And we would need to also count the time between the last interpolation frame starting and the next one. So okay, I think we're gonna have to on the log inspector side, keep track of some data, calculate these deltas, and pass them in. So there is a piece of data. There is a piece of data we need to send from the log inspector in order to run an interpolation frame. So let's go where? Where should we go? Let's go to the frame viewer script, because it's going to need to pass in the data here. This is going to end up being a thing that we do if frame type equals logger frame type interpolation, nope, not interframe, interpolation frame. And we're going to need to track a bit of state. Which is going to be something like our replay last what it is it's the last time a tick frame ended, or the last time an interpolation frame began. What the heck do we name that? Last. Okay, so we need this for interpolation frames, so let's maybe name it with interpolation. So last interpolation frame. I don't know what to call it. Time. Last interpolation frame time. Set it to 0 maybe by default. Let's make sure that's an integer, although it would be anyway. I just like to be explicit when numbers are involved. Know whether I'm dealing with an integer or a float. And so, if we are sending a tick frame, we need to update this replay last interpolation frame time to be equal to the end of the tick. So this would be end time. And over here, we need to first use the data and then reset the data. So we need to calculate our delta, which is the frame data. Or hang on, we'll record start time because we're gonna need it again later. So frame data start time, and then we're gonna calculate the delta by subtracting the start time, by taking the start time and subtracting the replay last interpolation frame time, and then we're gonna reset the replay last interpolation frame time to what is now the start time of this tick. And we need to put that delta value into the message that we're sending. So I guess we actually don't even need to keep this. We'll just say message delta equals this new data. And we need to ensure that we clear this and that we do something sane if for some reason we are sending this message when we don't have a value there. So okay, we'll have to do something like if replay, or hang on, for just this bit, if replay last interpolation frame is greater than 0, then we know we can do this. Otherwise, we are just going to send a dummy delta of 1. I don't know what else we can do. Oh, okay, and we need to make sure that this is a floating point value, because right now this is, so delta expects to be a number of seconds, so actually 1 is a bad value. Something small that's not 0. So So this is expecting to be a number of seconds, and these are integers of milliseconds. So we need to say, okay, that many milliseconds divided by 1,000. And then when we don't have the data, what's a good number of milliseconds? I mean, half of what would be 60 frames per second, so like 120 hertz. Does that sound reasonable? So what is that? That's 1 divided by 120. Control-Shift-E. There we go. Wow, that is a small number. Okay. So this is, let me leave a little note to remind myself of how I came up with this bit of data. If we can't know the actual delta, let's use a small value that's bigger than 0, arbitrarily, 1 divided by 120. I guess I'll put it with the floating point stuff on there so I don't confuse myself later. Okay. And the other thing I said we need to make sure this replay last interpolation frame time gets cleared whenever we are resetting. So yeah, so we have this replay frame equals -1. We do some reset stuff. So I'll just put a little note here so I remember that that's what this is later. So this is reset replay. And here we will reset that replay interpolation frame time equals 0. Okay, I think that's enough to actually calculate the delta, I hope. We'll be able to watch to see if the interpolation looks wacky or not. When the interpolation frames run, that's an easy thing to catch visually. So, we are sending this delta now. We need to do something with the data when we receive it. So that would be in the sync replay singleton, which does the client stuff. And we need to pass this in, I guess. This would probably be an argument. We'll grab it here, var delta, or maybe we only need it when we're doing this one, so maybe var delta equals message delta, or we don't even need that. We know the data is going to be there. There's not a condition where we don't send a delta, or delta, message delta. Sometimes talking and typing leads me astray. Oh, and it's complaining because it doesn't take an argument. Let's go make it take that argument and use it for something. So, where's our mechanized, execute mechanized interpolation frame? Needs to take as an argument a delta, which is a float. We'll pass it into process. Okay. This should work, I think. I mean, it's enough things here to either work or break, I guess. Enough to test it, enough to see what happens. So I was running this before in the actual editor, which I want to stop doing, because as we know, the editor can do some weird things when you're developing code like this. I'm hitting clear, and it's not clearing. Okay, I think we'll actually need to restart the editor. Let's reload current project. Break all the things. Yes, Saluk, we'll break them all for your entertainment. Makes me think of a thing Jon Stewart used to do during The Daily Show. He would just be like, "Are you not entertained?" From, I think that's a reference to the 200, that movie. All right. So where was I? What was I doing? Okay, we need to run the log inspector as a scene rather than in the editor itself. Loading. Okay, and we will add those logs and launch our replay client. Ooh, someone else is stuck. Who got stuck this time? I can't remember who was the orc with the fro. And I know the button now. I think I do. There we go. That was Wenfrey again. Wenfrey, you got stuck on the top and then you got stuck on the bottom. What are you doing? Okay, so we are going to click seek only on replay peer. We're going to click auto so that I should be able to just keep hitting next frame and see ourselves advance. We are not seeing ourselves advance. Oh, no, there we go. So I just, the first couple frames wasn't hitting anything. And okay, what's happening? So if I click this, it's going to jump to an interpolation frame. I don't know if that means it's going to run this tick or it already ran this tick. That's actually a little confusing. If the cursor is sitting on this side of the tick, it would kind of lead me to believe that it hasn't executed the tick yet. But based on what I remember from the code, I think it actually has. And then clicking next frame will now go execute that interpolation frame, I think. So let's click it. Nothing changed. Let's click it again, and I moved. It appears as though our code is not working. And let's try and see why. Let's get into the debugger. Oh, the debugger won't work because we're running it not from the editor. Do we switch to running it from the editor? Or do we add some print statements? What is our preferred mode of debugging for this moment? I think I'd rather deal with the debugger. Okay. We just switched to running it as a scene instead of running it in the editor. Let's switch back to running it in the editor. Open up the log inspector. Load up these logs. We have to launch the replay client. I'm going to press next frame a bunch of times until the tank is actually moving. So we'll be able to see something interpolate. So there we go, we're moving a little bit. Then I'm going to drop out of here, temporarily close the log inspector. It's still there, it's still running, we just can't see it. And I'm going to look in this code here where we are receiving the message. So I want to set a breakpoint here right before we call execute mechanized interpolation frame and see what the delta looks like to see if the data is sanely calculated or not. Jump up to project tools, log inspector, and let's see what we get. So I hit that, nothing changes, of course, because we hit our breakpoint. So now we're down here, the message dictionary with 5 values. Delta 0.011. Does that seem like a sane delta value? Let me do a tiny bit of math. So the RetroTank party runs simulates at 30 frames per second. So that is, let's say 4K. I don't know if anyone else uses a reverse Polish calculator. You guys probably have no idea what I'm doing here. It's 1 divided by 30. Okay, so 0.0333, which means that we expect the delta to be some value less than 0.333, and we have got 0.11, so that seems perfectly fine. That's a perfectly fine delta value. Let's step in and see what happens next. Step into. We are now in execute mechanized interpolation frame. We are going to step into process. And let's just step over for a little while here. Getting start time. Okay, so this check is written booleanly weird. But if not interpolation frame, we always have, if we're not using interpolation, we always have to run this stuff here, otherwise it will never run. Or if this flag ran physics process is not set. How the heck does this flag work again? Okay, so ran physics process is true at the end of physics process. So this one will be false, and this one will be true not is false. Why do we want this? Oh, okay. So the way that this works is we don't want to run the interpolation frame if we just ran the physics frame, the tick frame. And so we know that process is going to run immediately after physics process in normal operation. And so the first time that happens, we have this flag to say don't do it. And then every subsequent execution of process, we do want to do the interpolation frame stuff. So I think we just need a special way to clear this flag, or to add another condition for mechanized, to say or mechanized. I think I like the idea of clearing this flag better, because then we're not adding more complexity here. So I'm going to step over, but I'm assuming it's just not going to run it. Yeah, okay. So that's why it's not doing anything, because this flag is not working for us. So I think what we need to do is over on so we have two options. On execute mechanized interpolation frame, we could clear it here to ensure that this will always work. Or the other option is after execute mechanized tick, we could clear it, because that's when it gets set. Mechanized tick sets the flag. We need it to always be cleared when running it here. I think I'm just going to do it this way. I don't think it really matters. I think either way would be fine. So let's start this thing up again. I'm going to replay. Oop, that won't work actually. Hang on. Hang on. We need to run it from the log inspector. Okay, so here we are. I guess let's go back to the start. Let's relaunch our replay client. We're going to jump forward a bunch of frames. Weirdly, it did not start at the beginning. There's some bug there. Not entirely sure I understand what the bug is yet, though. To start? Yeah. So going to start does not appear to clear whatever we're using for next frame, previous frame. And the code seems to be like totally not working right now. Yeah. Okay. Let's see about this issue with the seeking really quickly. Oh, it's not working because of breakpoint. Okay, cool. That mystery is solved. Let's clear out our breakpoints. I'm just gonna keep hitting continue here and make sure there's no more breakpoints set. I think we only set one. Whoa, whoa! I just heard a bullet. Yeah, I think we need to quit everything just to make sure we're starting from a clean slate. But before we quit everything, I want to go look at this bug we are seeing. So frame viewer, when it does jump to next frame, it is using this get next frame for peer, which is using current frames. So I think what we need to do is when we go back to start, we need to make sure that current frames gets updated to what it should be. So where's our start button? Or no, this isn't what I want to look at. I want to look at frame viewer TSCN, and we have our start. And it goes to this method. So we're setting time field value equals 0. Oh, interesting. So we are not updating the current frame thing at all when we're just changing the time value. that's probably a problem like all on its own, even beyond the start button, that affects filling in that field, that affects hitting the end button also. So on time value changed. It appears to be trying to set current frames. Why is it not working? When we look at this data and jump to next frame, we assume there's always a current frame. There isn't a condition where the current frame doesn't exist. Although here there's a condition where we don't set it. I'm just gonna look at everywhere that we are doing anything with current frames. And we clear it to nothing. Okay, I have a feeling there's just a bunch of logic here that's not right. So, I think if we don't find a frame, we set current frames equals 0. And that should clear out any existing data. Let me just give this a shot to make sure we fix this bug, then we'll get back on track. I'm a little distractible, but I think it's important when you see little bugs like this to either note them or deal with them right away. Otherwise, they get lost. So we'll load this as a scene. We will make sure that this seeking around thing is working, and then we'll restart the editor and dig back into the original problem. Okay, so I'm going to jump forward a bunch of frames. I'm going to hit start, and then I'm going to hit next frame. Aha! And it does its thing. And if I just set this arbitrarily to say 500 milliseconds, and then hit previous frame, it's not working. Okay, cool. We fixed a bug. Now, as I said, we're going to restart the editor so that the weird things that the editor is doing go away. And I suppose we actually could have tested it as a scene. Maybe let's do that. Or should we do it from the editor just because then we have the debugger? I mean, I just reset the debugger or editor. Let's do it from the editor. That way, if there's any exceptions or anything, we'll get the debugger yelling at us. Okay, so I think that per our last change where we reset that flag, it should now actually show us the tank interpolating. Let me see interpolate. Oh, there's a whole bunch of, is it 2 people stuck now? Okay, I unstuck, was that AJ Slay was stuck? Okay. So seek only on replay peer, do it automatically. Next frame, next frame, next frame, next frame, next frame, next frame. Okay, I think it might be working. So I'm on an interpolation frame now. I'm going to hit next frame, which will now execute a tick. I'm going to hit next frame, and we should see the tank move just a teeny tiny bit. Hey, we are interpolating, my friends. We have interpolation. Sweet. Oh, and there goes the bullet. Cool. Interpolation frames, as far as I can tell, are working. So that's something. That's something. Let's go, says Antonio. There's like so many good Godot puns that I try not to use, but it's hard. Like, let's Godot it. Or, I don't know. There's lots of them. There's lots of options. You take your pick. Let's Godot for it. All right. Okay, so we have interpolation frames. I think that's enough to like make a commit here. Let's make a little Git commit and then move on to interframes and then refactoring if we have the time. Yeah, we're about halfway into the stream. We're getting things done. We're getting things done, guys. I'm excited to have this feature. This is a really cool feature. debugging networking issues is not fun, and I think this will make it considerably, maybe a tiny bit fun. you can see things happening. All right, this code is looking pretty good. Let's commit it. Why are you lighting up, Alexa? I did not ask for your help.
If this is a life-threatening situation, please dial emergency services directly from...
No, Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. It is not a life-threatening situation. What did I say? What did I say that triggered her? Okay. Frame-based replay for interpolation frames. All right, and I saw there were some comments. I'm going to take a look at what they are. Ricardo says, nice. The dad jokes of Godot. Godot, do you dare stop with the puns? Puns are good dough, actually. Godot burn it? I'm actually not sure I know how to properly say that one, so it puns. Thanks guys for all the extra puns. All right, so next up, we are doing interframes, and interframes I suspect are the easiest, because what the heck do we even do on an interframe? Process input. I think that's the only thing that Sync Manager cares about for interframes, because as I was saying earlier, the RPC network adapter, when it receives data, it gets a signal, or no, it doesn't get a signal, I'm sorry, it gets an RPC call, which is something that happens whenever Godot decides to make it happen, and I think that's the only thing that matters as far as replay is concerned. So maybe let's go look at Sync Manager. Maybe all we need to do is like change our method that processes input to be a public thing. So right now we have underscore process mechanized input. What if our change is just process mechanized input, you know, and now this is a public method that can be called on interframes? That's an option. I do like the symmetry of having these different execute methods though, so maybe I won't do that. Maybe we'll leave it like that, and just so that we have, you know, an execute mechanized blah method for each of the types of frames, we can say execute interframe, and all it does is process mechanized input. I think that's oh, and we need to reset mechanized data at the end. Reset mechanized data. And yeah, so that it is actually good that we have this separate method, because beyond just processing the input, we need to make sure that we're clearing the mechanized data at the end, which we would not necessarily want to happen. Yeah, we definitely wouldn't want it to happen up here in execute mechanized tick. So this is the way. This is the way. I was just watching the Book of Boba Fett over this week, which I was avoiding because like people said it was bad, and like I don't trust these people anymore, because honestly, I watched the Book of Boba Fett and I loved it. I thought that was great. But the Mandalorian is always saying, this is the way. The Mandalorians always say that. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen the Book of Boba Fett, but that is good. It has this sort of like Godfather 2 quality to it, which if you're not familiar with Godfather 2, it like flashes back and forth between the fall of Michael Corleone's criminal empire and the rise of Vito Corleone's criminal empire. And what I loved about that was the rise of, you know, how did Don Corleone become Don Corleone? And now we have Boba Fett becoming, you know, the crime lord, and we have the rise, we have that the old-timey parts of the Godfather Part 2. Anyway, that was a nice tangent. Let's wire this up and see if it just works. And actually, for this game, there won't be many interframes, because like I said, it's RPC network adapter, generates a lot of interframes. This is using the WebRTC Nakama adapter, which won't generate a lot of interframes. Of course, they can still happen for other reasons, but they won't be important for our purposes, I don't think. So I guess we'll have to test this replay feature using the demo that comes with the Godot Rollback Netcode add-on, so that we can test interframes work with that as well. Which of course, we'll need to test it over there anyway. It adds some docs and do all the things you got to do when you add a new feature. So sync manager, execute mechanized interframe. And I'm 90% sure we are already sending the interframes, because the way I remember this code working, it was just setting the frame type on there. Yep, just setting the frame type on there, sending the data. Yeah, that should be it. What? Antonio, your joke is like 2 meta levels above me here. The book of Wobbuffet, like the Pokemon. That joke is a meta layer on top of a meta layer on top of a meta layer. Unless you just legitimately don't know what the Book of Boba Fett is. That's it's a Star Wars spin-off. It's a Star Wars spin-off series on Disney Plus. So Disney Plus had The Mandalorian, which was a Star Wars spin-off series, and the Book of Boba Fett is another Star Wars spin-off series. If you haven't seen either of those, I recommend them. Disney Plus, of course, is a thing you gotta buy, which kind of sucks, but it's cheap. I think it's only $5 a month. You can spend $5, devote a whole month to just watching Disney Plus, and then you can cancel it. Although that would be a very unproductive month. I actually don't recommend that technique at all. Okay. What was I doing? Okay, we're just going to test this. We're just going to run it, make sure that nothing explodes, and then I think we're actually going to have to copy all of the stuff we did over into, like I said, the demo for the Godot Rollback Netcode add-on, make sure it still works there, and then refactoring time. So, how will we test this? I guess let's load it as a scene. Do that. Let's add some logs. These logs. And run a replay client. Why won't it launch? Hold. It is still launched here. We need to stop, clear, and it's not clearing. All right. Reload current project. Bear with me as we reload all of the things. And we will open the log inspector, tscn. We will then hit run scene. We will add some logs. We will start our replay client. We'll click all the happy checkboxes. It's like a Bob Ross. All these happy little checkboxes over here. I'm really big on pop culture references today. Not like recent pop culture references because I'm old, but my pop culture. And things are not exploding. So that is good. Let's just do a little tiny commit because that was like a non-change. Just what is that? Plus 5 lines? No, plus I guess 7 lines. Frame replay for interframes. And then I'll push that. We are going to copy the add-on code over to, let me go make sure I'm on the right branch over there. We'll make the font big. Games, Godot, Rollback Netcode, branch. We're on main. Let's make a new branch, or hang on, let me pull here. Already up to date. We'll make a new branch. Call it frame replay. And then we're going to copy all of this code. Rollback netcode, add-ons. Jump over here, see what we get. And we'll add all this new code. Let me just take a look at it really quick to make sure that it's not like reverting something. Yeah, so at the top of this diff, this little thing here, this is one of the weird things that happens when a binary log entry is incomplete. So we'll be able to hopefully remove this hack if we can solve the threading issue. But yeah, let me just make sure that I don't know that Retro Tank Party was on the newest version of the Godot Rollback Netcode add-on when I started working on it. I think it was. I do try to do that. But this is a thing that is stretched over a couple of weeks, so. Actually, a good way to check this. Okay, first things first. Let me just commit on this branch. I will say copied frame replay stuff from Retro Tank Party. And I'm going to switch back to the main branch. And we're just going to do a diff. Make sure we're not reverting anything. So how are we going to do that? I guess we have to put Retro Tank Party on something. Let's look at the logs. We will jump back to the first commit before we started working on frame-based replay. And we're going to do a diff between what we have here. Between what we have here. Oh, you guys can't even see what I'm typing because I'm like below the black bar. You couldn't even see all my terrible typos. Good. Good. Let's keep it that way. You'll see the command in a moment once it moves up the screen. Diff it against Retro Tank Party's copy of the add-on. And it looks like there's only one difference, which is that Retro Tank Party had the version set to Alpha 5. So there is one little reversion. I'm glad that we did this, because now when I switch back to our frame replay branch, I'm going to edit, what is this, plugin.cfg, I think? Yeah, plugin.cfg. And I'm going to change the version to Alpha 6 so that this branch is not going to switch the version from Alpha 6 back to Alpha 5 when I do actually merge it eventually. Okay, so restore inadvertent. How do you spell that word? Restore incorrect, or restore correct version. There we go. Okay. And then I'm gonna jump back over here, switch back to the branch that we want. Rollback replay frame. There we go. One of the very useful uses of Git demonstrated live. So let's quit out of Retro Tank Party. Up here, just reload. Yes, quit. That's what I want. Let me do it. We'll open up a normal build of Godot before we were using a debug build of SGPhysics 2D. We're going to go to this one. So let's just create some logs here. We have to, because any old logs we have are JSON logs and we need binary logs. So we're going to say play online server. Make this one down here the client. And I will move a dude around. Arrow keys? Am I in a weird branch? Oh, because this is, I'm confusing in my mind the demo that comes with the project and the tutorial we've been building. So the tutorial we've been building uses WASD now after the last part in that video series. And this one still uses arrow keys. Wow, I am making life hard for myself. Okay, so we did that. We now have some logs, I think. Do we? Does this thing log? Yes, it does log. And let's now open up the log inspector. This device made by Amazon that shall not be named keeps coming alive for some reason. I don't know why. Log inspector. We'll load up those logs. Whoa, peer 0? What was I doing over here that I was generating some peer 0s? Oh, I bet this thing logs even when it's offline. That's a bug. That's a bug. Okay, so you can see these gray bars over here. Those are interframes. So there are none in RetroTank Party, but here you can see green bars for ticks, gray bars for interframes, and blue bars for interpolation frames. So now we will launch a replay client. And I know I didn't do anything for like a really long time because I was trying to find the right keys. So let's jump to, I don't know, somewhere in the middle. I don't know what milliseconds time it would be. Over here, sure. This is 3 seconds into the match. Am I pressing anything in it? Let's go next frame, next frame, next frame, next frame. I'm still not pressing anything. Okay, let's jump even further down. Nothing is happening whatsoever. Why is this not working? Let's take a peek in some of our terminals. See if there's any errors coming out. Bugger. Attempting to send message when not connected to game. That is interesting. Does that happen every time I hit this? No, so this must be old messages. Go to state replay. Let's just see if we can load states. Okay, so loading states sort of works. What? What is going on here? Okay, so when I'm on tick 200-ish, it's moving. I might have just recorded really weird logs. Were you guys paying attention? Was I just like sitting in one place for a long time? Okay, so tick 200-ish. We are moving around. So let me find tick 200 up here. Tick 200. I'm going to replay to current frame. And it's not working. What is happening? Why is this not working? All right. Well, let's do what we do. Let's switch to loading this in the editor, see if anything comes up in the debugger. So I think I'm just going to load it and run it and see if maybe there's like an error that we see with the debugger. And I guess launch the replay client first. Then I'm going to move over to tick 200-ish. This font is like unreadable right now. I don't know why. It's usually readable. And we're going to hit replay to current frame. All right. Nothing happened, but the debugger now has 112 messages in it. Unable to retire state frame 1 because we haven't hashed it yet. So this is what I was talking about with calling cleanup buffers and it being potentially dangerous. Okay. So So we did find ourselves in a situation where that turned out to be dangerous. I'm willing to bet the reason we didn't see it before is because we were always playing through like the first 20 ticks. And there's nothing to retire in the first 20 ticks. Or first 20 ticks, which is way more frames. That's like 40 frames, but 20 ticks. So now we're hitting that issue. So let's dig in there and see what we can figure out. So the core of the error is we are unable to clean up a state frame because we haven't hashed it. Buffers. So there's two options here. We can come up with a different way to clean the buffers and avoid calling this cleanup buffers method, or we can figure out why the heck it's not hashing those frames and make sure those frames get hashed. I think I'm going to look at the second option first, because if there's a simple change we can make that just means that the states get hashed now, then we're good. There's also an interesting case here. No, never mind. So what I was going to say is when we're like restarting a replay, are we sure that the buffers are cleared when we do? And I think we are actually sure that we are, because we call stop and start on sync manager. So let's figure out how to do this. I hope this isn't like the most boring stream ever. Like, you guys are way less talkative than usual. Either it's not a lot of stuff to contribute to, or this is like the most boring stream that ever was streamed. But I hope it's the first one and not the latter one. If it is the latter one, though, tell me, because then I'll know not to do streams like this again. Since I can always work on this on my own time. I don't need to do it on stream unless it's like also potentially interesting or entertaining or gives us an opportunity to hang out and chat, because that is what I like about streaming. Okay, so where are the states getting hashed? Let me look for... Where do we add to the state hash is state hashes. Update state hashes. Cool, we have a method called update state hashes, which honestly should be getting called. Then the question is it getting called but not doing anything? So it'll only do something if the state complete tick is greater than the last state hash tick. So that would mean that the state complete tick needs to get updated. So when does state complete tick get updated? State complete tick gets updated when save current state runs, which save current state is definitely running, because otherwise none of our rollbacks would work. Let me just verify that it is, though. And then once I verify that it is, we'll come back here and look at that code and see if there's something happening that is causing that code not to run. So save current state is being called in do tick, and we are running do tick, so we're good. Okay, let's jump back to save current state. Oop, I was on it, then I went past it, and see what's going on with this logic. Antonio Cano, I'm focused on the project. Cool. That is nice to know. Makes me feel a little better. If input complete tick is greater than state complete tick, then state complete tick equals the current tick. If the current tick is less than input complete tick. Okay. We're drilling down here. So now we know that this depends on input complete tick being set correctly. So let's figure out where is input complete tick being updated and make sure that that is happening. Update input complete tick is a cool method that needs to be called. Let's look for it. When is update input complete tick called? I'll just search for actually that update input complete tick. Okay. update input complete tick is being called in process, which should honestly be running. This should be running, right? Peers is not size 0 because we're setting the peers. I think we should be. I guess we'll verify in the debugger in a little bit. Actually, yeah, we should be able to verify it right away, right? Let's open up the log inspector because we are currently running. So I'll hit next frame. What? I should be hitting that breakpoint. Why am I not hitting that breakpoint? Interesting. Why would we not be landing on process? There were interpolation frames. There were interpolation frames getting run. Let's just keep setting breakpoints until we see something hit here. It's like process is not even happening. Let's, I guess, go closer to the top of the funnel here. If you sort of think of the execution of the game as a funnel, start at very general methods, get very specific. I want to check out sync replay, which would be where we are entering the client here. And let's look for interpolation frame. Oh, okay. I see what's happening. I forgot to turn on auto. Now it should do it when I hit this, when we go over an interpolation frame. But it's still not. What? We're connected to a game. If I hit replay to current frame, we should hit like a dozen interpolation frames. More than a dozen. We're on tick 200. We should hit, 200 interpolation frames. What is going wrong here? If I go back to the state replay, is it still connected? No. Unless we've hit a breakpoint. We hit one of my breakpoints. We've hit one of my breakpoints. Oh, and we hit a breakpoint here too. Okay. My test is a little bit invalid because I wasn't paying attention to the breakpoints. This is a thing we need for sure to do before we commit this, is make sure that the log inspector goes away if peer size equals 0. Interesting. Peer size equals 0. So if we look at peers, we have one peer. So wait, what? If peer size equals 0? Hang on. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so let's read the comment. If there are no other peers, then we'll never receive any new input, so we need to update the input complete tick elsewhere. Here's a fine place to do it. So this isn't the normal place where we're supposed to call update input complete tick. That's the place where we're calling it. Where's the normal place? The normal place is over an on-received input tick. Okay, I understand what's going on now. This isn't the normal place. This is a special case for when we're playing a offline game. And so what we need to do here is something like that. That or we run this, like, we run update input complete tick outside of here, which maybe that's the better move. Let's go to our execute interpolation frame, and what we're going to do is we're going to run update input complete tick. Okay. Yep, you were right, Antonio. You totally caught it. I caught it way later. It did hit a breakpoint. Yep, it did hit a breakpoint. It's just confusing. Like, the log inspector is like its own separate thing, and so I'm expecting that to stop, but it's not going to stop because it's actually a different process that's being debugged altogether, and it's just weaving my mind together in sort of an inception cycle. For another pop culture reference, Inception. Okay, so I think this will fix it. Let's figure out how to get out of here. I'm gonna just clear all my breakpoints. Clearing my breakpoints. And we'll kill that. Let's go back to our log inspector. Let's switch back to the frame viewer. We will launch a new client, and I'm going to click next. What? Is it hitting a breakpoint I didn't clear? No. Debugger. Still doing the thing about missing hashes. Okay, how are we doing on time here? We still have a good 20 minutes, 25 minutes about. Let's figure this out. I think we might still be able to do this, guys. Okay. What is the best way to approach this? We know that update input complete tick is now for sure running because we are definitely calling it here. Let's make sure it's doing what it needs to be doing. So if input tick is greater than this, does input tick ever get iterated? Like, I bet it doesn't. I bet we're not updating input tick when we're in mechanized mode here. Okay. Where does input tick get set? So input tick, somewhere there's a plus equals. Or no. So input tick should be getting updated in our normal physics process. Let me set a breakpoint on the update input complete tick. Since we know this is critical, let's see what it's actually doing here. We should hit this right away in the debugger. As soon as we execute an interframe. So I'm just gonna keep auto. I'm gonna keep hitting this. And we should have hit a breakpoint down here. I wonder, did I have auto not turned on? Was anyone paying enough attention? Hang on, I'm just gonna unset this breakpoint and just continue and see if maybe the problem was that I didn't have auto turned on. So auto is now turned on. Okay, nope, that didn't help. All right, let's go back to the breakpoint. We'll set the breakpoint here. And let's not do this with auto. I'm just going to hit replay to current frame, which should hit the breakpoint right away. Come down here. We are on the breakpoint, I think. Yep, looks like we are. And let's step through. Why can't we step through here? Something weird is happening. Something very weird is happening. Let's restart some things. Okay, let's just let's just start over and reload the current project just to ensure, like for sure, that this isn't due to just weirdness, just the weirdness of developing an add-on while you're using the add-on and all of that. Okay, so let's add the log. There should be no breakpoint set. Let's launch the replay client. We're going to scroll all the way over to around tick 200. We're going to hit replay to current frame and see something happen, I hope. We saw nothing happen. If we go look in the debugger, we are again seeing our 112 attempting to rush higher state frame while still missing hashes. I also wonder too, like once we hit this error, it might kill the entire match, right? Like everything might just not work from this point on because the fatal error should have stopped the sync manager. Or wait, it's a warning? But it's returning false. Maybe this isn't as fatal an issue as I thought it was. Because over here, it's just logging a warning and just like never clearing the state hashes. So we're building up this big list of state hashes, not clearing it, but that isn't appearing to cause a fatal error. Still need to figure out, we still don't want it to happen, I guess. So that doesn't explain necessarily why this isn't working. Wow. I'm surprised. We had this working, you know, basically for Retro Tank Party, and now there's something critical we're still missing. Okay, so let's set the breakpoint, which was on update input complete tick. And now, if I go back to the log inspector and I hit replay to current frame, that should drop me in the debugger, right? No. All right, let's close this. We'll close this. There's a breakpoint set. We're going to log inspector. We are relaunching the replay client. We appear to have hit the breakpoint right away, just immediately. And let's see what the state of everything is. So here is the internal variables of the sync manager. I'm just kind of looking for tick and input tick. Just kind of see where we are in the match. And I'm not seeing them. I think in a new version of Godot, possibly 3.5, there's going to be a little search thing up here that you can type into to like filter this members list, which I'm very much looking forward to. Okay, current tick. We are way at the beginning, super at the beginning. So let's hit continue a bunch of times until we get up to like, I don't know, a mid-range tick here. Current tick 8. And then let's step through here line by line. So, or actually, first of all, let's look at these first values that are using the wild. While, not the wild, not like the Godot wild jam. So input tick is at 10, while current tick is at 8. That sounds perfect. Input complete tick. Where are you? Input send queue, buffer start tick, blah, 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 blah. Input complete tick is at 9. It's at 9. That actually sounds like it's fine, doesn't it? So we run through here. Say step over. Looks like we can get another. We marked another one as input complete. And then here's for that feature that BIMDAV added. which we need to name that, BimDab. If you're still on, like, we need a name for what this feature is, because I just don't know what to call it. Like the geez, I don't know what to call it. In your original MR, you called it sync ticks, but like that isn't a great name either. It's like a tick that's always going to be rolled back to once the input is complete. I don't know. The requested input complete, a tick that was requested to be input complete. Like, I don't know what to call that. I don't know what to call that feature. Anyway, so it looks like input complete tick is getting updated correctly. So it must be something else that's preventing us from hashing those the enforce input complete feature. Is that what we called it? Enforce here? Enforce. I can't even remember what the method is called. Is it request input complete tick? Ensure input complete, ensure tick input complete feature. The ensure input complete feature. Ensure input complete. That's a reasonable sounding name. Ensure input complete. Okay, anyway, so our problem still stands. Our states are not getting hashed. I guess I was trying to walk through, and it seemed like we were getting stuck on the input complete thing, but I think we aren't. So let's just go to where the states are being hashed. State hashes. Is this where the states are being hashed? No, this is where we're receiving input. Okay. Update state hashes. Okay. So let's actually set a breakpoint here. Let's get to the next one of these. Update state hashes. Okay, so while state complete tick is greater than last state hashed tick. Let's look at those two values. So state complete tick. State complete tick. Godot 3.5, come save me. State complete tick. 8. That seems like a reasonable value. Last state hashed tick. Last state hashed tick. Last state hash tick is 7. Okay, so input complete tick is 8. Last state hashed is, oh, hey, I can hover? I can hover over these? Did you guys know this? Am I late to the party? I can hover over state complete tick and it tells me its value is 8. Can hover over this one, tells me its value is 7. That's beautiful. Okay. So let me press step over. That should take us to the next line. We're going to grab the next state frame. It does exist. Last state hashed tick, we are adding 1 to it. Now we're taking the state hash. We are calculating the state hash. We are appending it. And it seems like our state hashes are being calculated just fine. Maybe we should be looking at the cleanup method. Our state hashes seem to be just fine. We have 8 of them. We're good. Let's look at our cleanup method. Cleanup buffers. Clean up the input send queue. So what we care about is down here, this warning. When this warning happens, we want a breakpoint. Saluk says, whoa, news to me. Antonio, lol. Ricardo, what? Nice. Yes, I wasn't the only one. We all learned something today. If nothing else, we all learned that today. Okay, so let's, I'm actually going to clear out these other breakpoints because they do not appear to be important. So now we are here where the state hash, our buffer of state hashes now has 19 elements. It's reached its limit. It's time to start trying to clear it. Although actually, it looks like we're supposed to clear it when it's the buffer size times 2. So I don't think our buffer size is 10. So that's a little weird, but whatever. We're getting the warning here. We're unable to retire it because the state hash to retire is complete. Oh, state hashes are complete when the other peers acknowledge them. Okay. This will always be false in mechanized mode because we are not acknowledging any hashes. So if this and not mechanized, I mean, that'll solve the problem for us for now. I think this still doesn't explain, though, why nothing is happening. Things should be happening, right? I think we need to get some new logs here. I think we need to get some new logs. Let me let's kill this. Let's okay, well, first things first, let's verify that the change I made actually fixed the problem we were looking at before. And that will be nice to verify. So launch U. And I'm going to replay to current frame. That should not generate debugger errors. Okay, sweet. Warning, gone. I don't know if this is the best fix, but it is a fix that works fine for now. I'm more concerned with why this doesn't seem to be working at all. And to do that, I'm going to get some better logs. The other logs are kind of tainted because I didn't remember what buttons moved us for so long. So like they're just very empty at the beginning. So let's make some new logs. And start this one up as the client. And I'm in there and I'm moving, I'm doing so much moving. And we kill it. Okay. Now, let's launch the log inspector as a scene for increased just stability. And all I want to see is, does this do anything or no? Oh, of course, it's not going to do anything because it's being blocked by the fact that the one in the editor is still using the ports. Okay, we'll clear this. It cleared fine, so I'm feeling happy about that. I don't think there's anything weird going on in the add-on, hopefully. And let's launch a replay client. Let's just pick a spot, replay to current frame. So even here, it's not doing anything. And why could that be? Let's look at the data that's coming in. Let's set a breakpoint. Set a breakpoint over in sync replay. And let's look at the data coming in here. Look at the kind of frames that we're getting. My thought is maybe because the data is coming in on an interframe, for some reason, it's not getting processed. And that's where everything's going wrong. So let's look at the data. Get rid of auto. I'm going to hit replay to current frame. Did that stop on our breakpoint? It appears not to have, actually. Let's go to the start. Well, that did something. Replay to the 0th frame. I think actually I'm just going to hit continue on this one. I'm going to go to a later frame. The reason I did that actually is because I have this just sort of suspicion in my mind that when we're going next frame, next frame, next frame, it's actually not doing anything close to what we are expecting because it's broken earlier on, and like the next frame thing doesn't replay from the beginning. It just like tries to advance things, if that makes any sense. Maybe not. Okay, so now I've replayed to this other frame. and we're at our breakpoint. So let's look at the message. This is execute frame, frame type 0, which I think is an interframe. We have some input frames received. This is from the other peer. So we are being peer 1, the other peer, the input is coming in. Let's do step over. We'll jump into the execute mechanized interframe. So this should have set input frames received up here. I guess when we step into, I'll verify that that's there. This should now be mechanized input received. We have this data here. We are on the interframe. We should process that mechanized input. Let's step into. We are injecting this input as it should be, I think. I guess let's just step over a little bit. And then let's look at the input buffer. Input buffer has one frame for tick 1, has this data that got injected. It looks, I mean, it's empty input, but it seems fine. Maybe let's hit continue a bunch of times to get to a later frame. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just hit it 4 or 5 times, something like that. Or yeah, this, and maybe I'll hit it even more because there's lots of frames before you get to a tick, right? So here's another interframe. Or what I really care about is that the tick has all of the data it needs. I'm going to try to jump to the next tick frame. Okay, so if the game's not working, like if the players aren't moving, they're actually being moved on a tick frame. So we looked at the interframe, and the input seems to be received correctly. Let's step into here. How are we doing on time? 3 minutes. Can we solve it in 3 minutes? Probably not, but let's try. Okay, so we start out with processing the input. So I want to look at mechanized input received. We have the input for ourselves for tick number 4. What tick are we on? Hopefully tick number 4. Where is current tick? Current tick. Tick number 3. Tick number 3. Does that seem a little weird? Unless are we gonna increment the current tick a little later? So we'll step over, and then we'll step into. So this is physics process. We're going to step over a bunch of times, get past this, get past this, get past this. Calculating rollback ticks. We're apparently doing some rollbacks. That's interesting. I don't really care right now, though. Let's just get past this. Here come the actual rollbacks, blah, blah, blah. Now, we're skipping this entirely. We're just going to clean up the buffers. Then we get to input tick and current tick getting advanced. Okay, so now we are on current tick 4. What is our input? Just empty input. Couldn't we have gotten one that had some input in it? Man, I feel like we're not gonna figure this out before the thing is over. Why? Why did this work in Retro Tank Party but fails here? So wait, what? What just happened there? So if not mechanized, okay, cool. If not mechanized, we do this sending of input, blah, blah, blah. If current tick is greater than 0, jump in here. Then we go to do tick, where it grabs the input frame, which should be valid. It should have the data for us that we just saw, that empty input, does it have input for the other? It does, also empty input. Let me try to get here on a different tick where we actually have some input. So I can see input frame here. Empty. Let's see, input frame for us, empty. Geez, how empty is this thing? I wish we had conditional breakpoints in Godot. Ooh, someone stuck at the bottom again. Who was it? It was BimDav was stuck at the bottom. All right, you're unstuck. Okay. We don't have conditional breakpoints, so we just kind of got to hit this till some input comes in. Unless the bug is that somehow the input is just being injected empty every time. Doesn't seem like that would be the thing that would happen when it was working perfectly fine for Metro Tank Party. It's going to be something stupid. When I figure this out finally, it's going to be something really stupid. And I'm going to be on Discord like, guys, I can't believe this. I can't believe we spent how much time trying to figure out why this doesn't work. And it was just something so dumb. I'm going to just hit this a bunch of times because I know... Ooh, did I hit it too many times? I might have hit it too many times. Okay. Let's... There's gotta be input on this frame. On tick 12, gotta be pressing something. I'm not. Okay, here's what we'll do. Oh, it's still going. Still doing stuff. Okay, so let's take one last stab at this, and then I think I'm just gonna have to figure it out off stream or next time. If you guys are interested in still looking at this. Are you guys interested in still looking at this? Like, we've been working on it like 3 streams in a row. Is this still an interesting thing? Okay, so on tick number 20, this pier is moving. This pier is moving on tick number 20. We know from the state data. So let's go to tick number 20. I was looking at pier 1, which might have been a problem too. Oh, it just went back to the beginning. Okay. It went back to the place of the bug here. Replay to current frame. So what tick am I looking at here? I'm looking at current tick 13. Let's just let this go maybe 16. 16. We now have the input. We now have the input frame. And we're going to look at not pier 1, but this other pier, which has some input. It has some input. Why is the input not being used? Let's step through here and see why not. So step over. We're in here. What peer ID are we on? We're on the other peer ID, the one that's going to do something. Wait, what the heck just happened there? If not, input frame has peer ID, or input frame players peer ID dot predicted. So we were just doing the other peer ID. The input frame for this one was not predicted. Why did we just jump out of that loop? Okay, no, we jumped out of that loop because that's predicting missing input. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, I was thinking that was when we were actually passing in the input, but it's not. Here we will now step into. So now we are calling network process, which this is the thing. This is the thing. We are looping over nodes here. What node are we on? We are on. This is wait. This is the actual node. This is the client one. This is the node we care about. So step over, step over, step over. Okay, we got to get through this loop. Blah, blah, blah. Let me actually just set the breakpoint down here so we can continue through it, save some time. This should be actually calling network process on our node. The node that we are on is the one we care about. Brilliant. Now, we're getting the player input. What is the player input? Show it to me. It's empty. Why the heck is it empty? I am baffled. I am baffled. We're on tick number 16. We just saw like a moment ago that the input was not empty. So input frame. Passing an input frame. Are we doing it on the wrong peer? Get player input, get network master. So this is the client node. Can I look at its network master? Is that something I can view? Probably not. Is it grabbing it from the wrong peer? That could be. That very well could be. I wonder if this demo needs to do something new for replay to work. Because like, okay, so in our main GD here, we do setup match for replay, and we get the peer IDs, but we don't do anything with the peer IDs. So what if what we need to do is say for peer ID in peer IDs, if peer ID does not equal 1, then we set it on client. Can you autocomplete for me, Godot? I would really appreciate that. Okay, I guess we have to open up the scene. And then you will autocomplete for me, right, Godot? Client player, set network master peer ID. Break. I mean, we don't need to, but feels good. Feels good to break there. We know there's only ever going to be 2, so there's no need to break. But yeah, what if this fixes it? I must know. Okay, so let's continue. So I can clear some breakpoints. Clear you breakpoint. Clear you breakpoint. Okay, let's kill this. Let's go to project, tools, log inspector. We're going to launch the client with the change we just made. And it's working. It's totally working. Oh my God. At the last moment. What time is it? Woo! We went 8 minutes over, but we still did it. Okay. Wow. Interframes are working perfectly. It was a step that we didn't do in our setup for replay. It's something that's missing in the tutorial now too, because I'm pretty sure I didn't do that there either. Retro Tank Party did it. Retro Tank Party was playing by the rules. Okay. Wow. Wow. That is beautiful. So, in conclusion, we did it. we didn't refactor anything. Yeah, here's what I guess I didn't check to see if you guys said anything, if this was something you wanted to keep doing, like press the arrow keys from tick 1. I'm not sure what that was referring to. I would love to know if you guys are interested in continuing to work on this same thing in future streams, or if I should just finish this up off stream, because we're so close here. We're so close. This thing is like practically done. It just needs refactoring and that's some bug fixing, refactoring and bug fixing, and we can ship this. I'm going to commit this code to this branch that we're working on. God, frame replay working in this demo. I'll even push this branch up. Frame replay branch. Oops. Origin frame replay. Oh, yeah, so... Oh, Saluk says maybe VR next time? Yeah, so the ideas I have, if we don't do this, and maybe I should just put this on the Discord because I don't know how many people are even still watching at this point, but the ideas that I have for future streams are either we can finish this one more episode. I can't imagine it going more than one episode. We can do VR. Maybe we could work on my VR prototype. That could get tricky. I'll have to do a little pre-work to figure out like what is the best way for you guys to be able to see what I'm doing in VR when we're actually testing the app. The other idea that I had is on the Discord. We've been talking a lot about Rust libraries, and it might be cool to play around with Rust and Godot. I don't know Rust very well at all. I've done like a tutorial and had I wrote like a tiny little Godot script in Rust, and I've also done like the first 6 Project Euler problems in Rust, and yeah, I don't really know it, but it'd be cool to learn it. It'd be cool to experiment more with Godot and Rust integration. But yeah, I don't know. Those are the ideas I have. I'll bring those up again on the Discord where there's more people to voice an opinion. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I can't believe we finally got this more or less working, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys on the Discord and whatnot later or next week. Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.